This is a message for Ryan Trahan. On September 3rd, I uploaded a video titled Ryan Trahan and Haley fam need to press pause. On September 14th, when the video had ballpark 3,000 views, you sent me a DM on Twitter and we began a long text conversation. Like you said in the Instagram story, this conversation was really nice.
It was really nice getting to talk to him because our backgrounds are actually pretty similar. So that was nice.
We shared some personal stories, and where my video was very logical and purposely impersonal, I was able to offer you some of my own life experiences to give a more humanizing facet to the video. Clearly, this project is a big emotional weight on both of us, and I would consider the general tone of our dialogue therapeutic. But here's the thing, Ryan. You asked me to keep our conversation private, and I agreed. On Friday, September 25th, you recorded an Instagram story addressing the video and talked a little about our conversation. You could have just said it was a nice conversation and left it at that. But here's what you said.
We're actually very similar people for the most part. Like, he's 27 years old, he has a kid on the way, he has a wife, he has a PhD, he's super smart.
And in the comments of my video, you revealed my name. I told you I wasn't making this video for money. I'm not using this to jumpstart a YouTube commentary career. The upcoming content I have planned is going to be more of the same unsettling abstract pieces that came before. I don't need my ego to be stroked by people in the comments. I made a 2-hour video because there's a serious issue with the content you and Haley put out, and you need to address that with your audience that feels personally hurt and alienated by what you're doing. I was committed to never publicly addressing this situation again and allowing you and Haley to organically handle this yourselves. But when you revealed these personal things about me and my family to your 600,000 Instagram followers, things that we agreed would stay confidential, I lost a lot of trust in you, and I no longer felt I could address this in a DM, nor did I think it was appropriate to allow my privacy to be violated without standing up for myself. You told people that I have a wife, which maybe I'll give you a pass on because I briefly mentioned it in the video. Every week, my wife and I would pull up YouTube on the TV and we'd be like, gee, wonder what Ryan's up to. But you told people my name, which I do not publicly disclose as I operate under the SPV moniker. You told 600,000 people my age, which I deliberately obfuscated in the video. Now, I'm aware that the optics of a 45-year-old man lecturing a 19-year-old girl on sex is not great. You told 600,000 people that I have a PhD, which I do not advertise as I keep my professional life separate from my internet identity. But worst of all, you told 600,000 people that I have a kid on the way. I find that unforgivable. I have relatives I still haven't told. My unborn child did not agree to have a place in this story, and I also do not agree to it. I told you these things as a way to humanize myself, like you wanted. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to show you that behind the cold rationality of my criticisms, there's a real person that actually cares and wants you to succeed. But I did that under the condition that my real life would stay between us. I'm not a public figure like you are. Yes, I made this public declaration, but I purposely obscured my identity in the video, both because I thought it was necessary to divorce my life experiences from the arguments to make them more universal and ultimately stronger, but I also did that because it's my choice to leave my personal life off the internet. You and Haley choose to sell your relationship and your lifestyle as a product. I didn't choose that for myself, and you shouldn't have the right to choose that for me. So I'm unequivocally and publicly asking you, Ryan, please uphold the commitment you already made and do not reference anything I told you in our DMs again. And I think your cavalier behavior fits into the narrative from my video that your audience does not hold you accountable in the way that they should, and moreover, you're not holding yourself accountable. I understand that you probably have some kind of formal statement in the works, and an Instagram story might not be the best and most comprehensive way to address this. But your main defense was that the quotes that I use in my video doesn't represent you anymore.
Some of this stuff doesn't represent us well anymore. Like, some of the footage that he uses is a year old or 2 years old, or some of it's even like a couple months old, and it no longer represents us.
I think that's so fraudulent, because in order for a past piece of content to fail to represent you, there needs to be some kind of correction in place that nullifies the issue that you want to move past. Some kind of admission of guilt and believable expression of growth. Just to take the most troubling example from the video, Haley presented false medical information about birth control to her teenage audience, and when called out, responded with a flippant non-apology where she suggested that the medical system was illegally profiting by pushing hormonal birth control onto patients.
And of course, doctors would like you to buy birth control. They make a lot of money off that. I could do a whole episode.
That content still represents you. Not only has this not been adequately addressed, But we, the audience, have not been given a reason to believe that you have grown from this in the past 2 months since the podcast episode was uploaded. You can't just refer to growth without any substance to back it up. And let me do you this favor while I'm at it. 2 years ago, I created an ARG, or an alternate reality game, that featured AI-generated clickbait headlines about a fictitious version of Ryan Yarrow's dating life. I made 13 of these ridiculous photoshops of Yarrow with famous women from pop culture in all kinds of absurd situations. Here's one of Yarrow and Marcia Clark hanging out at Knott's Berry Farm, or this one of Yarrow racing Rita Jephtu on Rainbow Road. The concept of a mid-range influencer like Yarrow secretly being this larger-than-life celebrity became an inside joke with me and my friends, and he made a few appearances in my other pieces. Here's one in a Flatten the Curve advertisement that I made. The humor is that these tweets reside in the gray area of parody and sincerity. Some of my favorite content creators also occupy this space. People like Viper the Rapper, Ivan Doran, Gatis Kandas, and Kyriakos Grizzly. And this isn't something that's new to me. I've made an ARG about one of my friends going missing where I tweeted a picture of him every day for 2 months with the caption, "Have you seen this man?" I created a political campaign around removing Dunkin' Donuts locations in our state to create a more hospitable environment for local business, and I sent letters of my manifesto to state representatives about the cause. I called the local sports radio station and claimed that I was the biological son of one of the co-hosts.
I think you might be my biological father.
Wow. Well, that's news to me.
It's all a joke, dude. Obviously, the Yarrow thing is not the greatest look given the current situation, but honestly, I thought it was pretty funny seeing 5% of the comments confused about whether he actually made the video. If you were planning on exposing me as a stalker or something, I just saved you a couple hours and probably some embarrassment. Sorry my YouTube channel disturbs you, but I think right now you have bigger things to worry about than my creepypasta videos with less than 100 views. Oh, but wait, that content was from 2 years ago and doesn't represent me anymore.
By the way, it totally represents me.
Now, I'd like to address the broader audience here. I don't know how much I came across in the video, but I still feel pretty ambivalent about this whole thing. Like I said, even before I started writing this, I'd been thinking about the ethics of a project like this for months, whether it crossed the line and veered into personal attack, whether it was too long and comprehensive to follow the same generally accepted principles of a commentary video, whether it was just a pointless exercise in having my voice heard, whether the video would be responsible for a cancel of their content that lacked the nuance and empathy of what I was trying to communicate. I thought that ultimately more good than bad would come out of this, but I wasn't totally convinced, and I don't think we can really draw conclusions about that for a few years. I knew from the outset that this would be controversial, and that I would have to come to terms with some of the consequences that come with uploading a project like this. Not the stands accusing me of being jealous and just a hater, you know, that's pretty music. But some of the probing questions like, who do you think you are to level this criticism? Or my personal favorite, why does this even matter? I'd like to think that I have answers to these questions, but I think they are more than fair second guesses. Particularly, why does this even matter? Because I spent a month writing the script and another month keeping abreast of the fallout, basically investing a lot of myself into what might ultimately end up being a silly footnote in the history of YouTube teen drama. I like to think that something more important is happening, but I can't deny that I got sucked into the lives of strangers I don't know, and I don't feel great about that. And I think I also made some more pragmatic missteps in the video too. A couple people pointed out that I suggested that the 6-day fertile window was extended by the 5 days that sperm can survive in the uterus. I got that wrong. In any menstrual cycle, there are 6 days you can get pregnant, but the point is that because of irregular cycles and inconsistent biomarkers, it's not always possible to predict when those 6 days will be. I appreciate those people that pointed that out. Some of the grievances that I used in the lightning round were petty and unfair. Totally agree with Adam himself who challenged me on that. I think my biggest regret is that I didn't make it abundantly clear that my issue is not with the personal choices that Ryan and Haley make about marriage, but the problem is when these choices are irresponsibly marketed and sold to their young audience and passed off as adult and mature. But in spite of all these things, I can't help but be encouraged by some of the feedback this project is getting. Like I said, I was honestly worried that this would end up being a Trey family hate train and that I would be its reluctant conductor, but I didn't give you all enough credit. You guys got it, even in spite of my missteps. I honestly can't believe how many of you share similar stories, that you grew up with these two and that they gradually fell out of favor as you matured in your lives and your relationships, or that you used to idolize the influencer lifestyle only to find it emotionally vacant. And still, so many of you are still genuine fans and wish them the best.
I know that you watching this are the people who actually support us and don't want to see our marriage crash and burn and watch us lose everything. And sometimes it feels like the energy in the comment section, like that's what people want.
Don't let anyone tell you that you're haters. You're good people and you should be proud. And for the people who like the tangent on mortgages, usually you have to pay for a lesson like that, so bless the fuck up. No, but in all seriousness, I was glad to be able to spread some financial literacy to the masses, and I'm even more happy that it was received so well. If I scared anyone about the responsibility of paying off a mortgage, just make sure your personal financial plan is reasonable and you'll be fine. I think though that this video reaches beyond Ryan and Haley's specific situation and is relevant for the modern virtual corporate hellscape that we find ourselves in. With the rise of influencer culture, I think there are a lot of lines that get blurred that weren't always so muddy. In particular, the division between individual and product. So for someone like Haley, you follow her journey through high school and beyond, you see her hang out with her friend group, you get to know her mom, you watch her relationship evolve, and after a while, watching her videos kind of feels like you're checking in with a friend, right? I catch myself feeling this way about other content creators too. Case in point, in the present situation, I felt more comfortable than I should have when I told Ryan some personal information about myself, and I got burned. But I feel like that attitude of emotional investment blinds people to the cold reality that these influencers are not actually your friends, and what you're watching is nothing more than a commercial product. By sitting through mid-roll ads and sponsorships, you are consuming a lifestyle, an image, a vague notion of aspiration. And for myself, as someone with a little more life experience, I can comprehend this and mostly enjoy the content that I watch independent of this kind of subversive financial transaction taking place. But the cohort of young kids and teenagers, by and large, almost certainly can't appreciate that. Kids are inherently materialistic and image obsessed, and it's not their fault because they're led to believe these superficial things equate with happiness. They don't understand what it means when their favorite YouTuber lives in a beautiful mansion, or how FaZe Simp was able to afford these 7 Ferraris in his driveway. Hint, he rented them. Or what really goes into their favorite teen Christian vlogger having a perfect storybook relationship. Kids see these things and their quote monkey brain doesn't allow them to perceive that they're being sold a concept of success. These big YouTubers that seem so friendly and personable, at the end of the day, would not be doing what they do if they could not make a profit. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, so long as children are protected from the warped feedback loop that we have here, where kids are the main financier of Ryan and Haley's operation, but they also do not have the wisdom to question the nonsense and harmful misinformation that they're being fed and quite literally sold. I don't have a comprehensive solution to this inherent flaw in YouTube's advertising structure, but I think a solution has to begin with holding creators accountable for harmful content that they push onto their fan base. When it's all said and done, it's my hope that the pause video will be a beacon of realism for 2 creators and their audience who collectively have fallen asleep at the wheel. With that said, I'm writing myself out of this story. It's up to all of you to hold Ryan and Haley accountable, but most of all, it's up to them to do the same. I'm going to take my own advice and pause. I'll log off all my accounts for a few months and focus on my family. When I come back, don't expect any more content like this from me. Seriously, I'd never want to do this again. In the meantime, be fair in your critiques. Thanks again for all your support.